They left no grand empire behind, no colossal statues, no towering monuments demanding to be remembered. And yet, for nearly 1,000 years, they connected the ancient world in ways few civilizations ever could. Long before the Romans ruled the Mediterranean, before Greek philosophers shaped Western thought, there were the Phoenicians, quiet masters of the sea, merchants who traversed continents, and innovators whose ideas still echo in every word we write today. Their ships cut across waters most people feared. Their dyes colored the garments of kings. Their alphabet transformed communication forever. And yet, despite all of this, the Phoenicians remain one of history's most overlooked civilizations, a people remembered more for what they gave to others than for what they left behind. To understand them is to shine a light on a hidden network of traders, explorers, and cultural bridge builders who helped shape the ancient world from the shadows. They emerged along a narrow stretch of the eastern Mediterranean coast, land wedged between mountains and sea, fertile in some places but mostly rugged, forcing its people to look outward rather than inward. What we now call Lebanon and parts of Syria and northern Israel once held a chain of small, independent cities, each with its own identity, but bound by shared language, culture, and a deep reliance on the sea. These were not conquerors or empire builders. They had no interest in vast armies or territorial ambition. Survival here depended on something far more practical: trade. Over centuries, the people of these coastal towns learned to master the waters that fed them. Timber from the mountains, purple dye from the murex shells along the shore, and skillful craftsmanship all fueled a growing network of exchange. As demand grew, so did their expertise. They built faster ships, developed advanced navigation techniques, and slowly transformed from coastal traders into the Mediterranean's most respected seafarers. What began as necessity became identity, a people shaped by the sea, bonded through commerce, and destined to leave a global footprint far larger than the land they occupied. Each of their great cities developed its own personality, yet together they formed the beating heart of Phoenician civilization. Byblos was the oldest, a place where trade with Egypt dated back thousands of years. Its ports carried cedarwood that became temples, ships, and palaces across the ancient world. Sidon grew into a center of craftsmanship, famed for delicate glasswork and intricate art that traveled far beyond the Levant. And then there was Tyre, the rising powerhouse, part island, part fortress, a city so wealthy and strategically placed that it would one day challenge empires and inspire legends. These cities didn't compete for dominance the way Greek polis did. Instead, they specialized. One city produced renowned textiles, another championed metalwork, another commanded maritime trade routes. But all three shared a single treasure that would define them: the rare purple dye extracted from the tiny murex snail. It took thousands of shells to produce a small amount of this rich, royal color, making it more valuable than gold. Kings wore it, elites sought it, and the Phoenician cities became famous for it. So famous, in fact, that the Greeks named them Phoenicians, meaning the people of purple. Their world was not defined by borders, but by connections, a vast web of ports, routes, and relationships that stretched farther than most ancient civilizations ever dared to imagine. From their home ports, Phoenician merchants sailed in every direction, carrying cedar, glass, textiles, metal goods, and their famous purple dye. In return, they brought back gold from Spain, tin from Britain, ivory from Africa, spices from Arabia, and luxury goods from every corner of the Mediterranean. Their ships didn't just move products, they moved ideas, technologies, and cultural influences. Their mastery of the sea was not an accident, but a skill refined over generations. The Phoenicians built ships that were both durable and fast, crafted from cedarwood that resisted rot and allowed for sleek, sturdy hulls. Their merchant vessels carried heavy cargo across long distances, while their agile warships defended trade routes and deterred piracy. These were innovations that other civilizations studied, copied, and sometimes feared, a testament to the Phoenicians' deep understanding of naval engineering. But their expertise extended far beyond shipbuilding. They were some of the earliest navigators who could read the stars with precision. The steady glow of the North Star, which the Greeks called the Phoenician star, served as a reliable guide during their long voyages. With this knowledge, they sailed past familiar coasts and into the unknown, reaching as far west as the Atlantic shores of Africa and possibly even Britain, where they secured tin, essential for making bronze. Their journeys were quiet achievements, not written in heroic epics or celebrated in grand monuments, Yet they expanded the horizons of the ancient world in ways few others dared to. For all their brilliance at sea, the Phoenicians' most influential achievement came not from the waves but from the written word. Long before alphabets became common, writing systems were complicated, often reserved for scribes trained to memorize hundreds of symbols. The Phoenicians solved this problem by creating something revolutionary: a simple, flexible alphabet built on just a few dozen characters, each representing a sound rather than an entire idea or syllable. It was writing made accessible, practical enough for merchants, adaptable enough for other cultures, and powerful enough to reshape communication. As their trade network spread, so did their script. Greeks adopted and modified it, turning it into the alphabet that would eventually evolve into Latin. From Latin came the writing systems used by much of the modern world today. Their language may have faded, their cities may have fallen, but their alphabet continues to live in almost every word we speak or write, making it perhaps the single greatest legacy they left to humanity. Their daily lives were shaped by a belief system as fluid and interconnected as the sea they depended on. The Phoenicians worshipped a diverse pantheon of gods, many shared across their different city-states, but each with local variations. Baal was often seen as a powerful storm or sky deity, while Astarte embodied fertility, love, and war. Melkart, the patron god of Tyre, symbolized kingship and protection, and he would later inspire the Greek myth of Heracles. These gods were woven into every aspect of life, from trade voyages to household rituals, guiding decisions and offering comfort in a world full of uncertainty. As their trading ambitions grew, the Phoenicians looked beyond the Levant and began establishing footholds across the Mediterranean. What started as temporary outposts to resupply ships gradually transformed into thriving colonies, stretching from Cyprus to North Africa, from Sicily to southern Spain. Each settlement served as a link in their vast commercial chain, extending their influence far beyond their homeland. Among these colonies, one would rise above all the others, a city destined to become a powerhouse in its own right, Carthage. Founded by settlers from Tyre, Carthage inherited the skill, discipline, and commercial spirit of its Phoenician founders. But it soon surpassed even its parent cities, growing into a wealthy, formidable state that commanded sea routes and controlled key ports. Carthage became the western anchor of the Phoenician world, shaping trade, politics, and culture across the Mediterranean. Its reach stretched into Iberia and North Africa, bringing prosperity but also rivalry. Over time, this expansion would draw the Phoenician network, and especially Carthage, into direct conflict with rising powers who sought to dominate the region. And those confrontations would change the ancient world forever. Despite their wealth and influence, the Phoenicians lived in a world dominated by empires, powers far larger, hungrier, and more aggressive than their own network of coastal cities. One by one, these empires came knocking. The Assyrians demanded tribute, forcing cities like Tyre and Sidon into uneasy submission. When Assyria fell, the Babylonians took its place, tightening control and besieging Tyre for years in an attempt to break its independence. Yet the Phoenicians adapted, negotiating where they could, resisting when necessary, and always keeping their trade alive. Under the Persians, they found a brief period of stability. Recognizing Phoenician naval expertise, the Persian kings relied on them to supply ships and sailors, especially during campaigns against Greece. But the rise of the Greeks, and later the Macedonians under Alexander the Great, brought new pressures. Greek city-states competed with Phoenicians for commercial influence, and Alexander's famous siege of Tyre in 332 BCE marked the end of Phoenician political autonomy on a large scale. Meanwhile, in the west, Carthage battled the growing power of Rome, leading to the Punic Wars, conflicts that would ultimately eclipse the last great Phoenician legacy. By the time Rome rose to dominate the Mediterranean, the Phoenicians as an independent political force had all but disappeared. Their cities were absorbed, their armies defeated, and their colonies either destroyed or assimilated. Yet, unlike many fallen civilizations, the Phoenicians did not vanish entirely. Their true legacy lived on, woven into the fabric of the cultures they had touched, the trade networks they had built, and the innovations they had introduced. The alphabet they developed became the foundation for countless languages. Their maritime knowledge influenced naval powers for centuries. Their artistic styles, religious concepts, and even culinary practices spread across continents. Carthage may have fallen, but its echoes lingered in Roman, North African, and Mediterranean history. In essence, The Phoenicians disappeared as rulers, yet their ideas, skills, and influence refused to die. They became the silent architects of the ancient world, a civilization whose shadow stretches into the present day, reminding us that true impact is measured not just by what is conquered, but by what endures. If you've enjoyed uncovering the story of these remarkable people, don't forget to subscribe to Ancient Odyssey for more journeys into the hidden corners of history, where the past still whispers its secrets.